Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the Wrestling Classic back here for the TWC Show live on Ruckus Avenue Radio every Monday at 1 p.m. and wherever else you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. If you haven't already, make sure you guys click the link in my bio, join the Discord community. Once we get to 1,000 people in the Discord, there will be a giveaway. I will be giving something away. It might be from Chalkline, it might be from Cardillo again, it could be anything. It could be an action figure from Rain City Toys. But all you got to do is join the Discord. We got some big stuff coming. Guys, it's a crazy week of wrestling. A ton has happened, and I got two co-hosts with me today. Returning once again, Daniel. Daniel's back. What's going on?
I'm only gone for a week. Feels like 2 months.
You look a cool dude. Hey, what's up? Oh man, look at this guy. He's all suave and shit over there. Joining us, returning to the show from that hashtag show THS Wrestling in a session everywhere else. Neesin, what's going on?
Hey man, life is going on outside. Was outside last night for a screening for a movie that I produced and scored. And happened to get up to go to the gym at 5 a.m. and somehow, some way, by the graces of Cody Rhodes himself, I am here. Talking to you, man. It's all great.
Well, we went live. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. I don't remember anymore. Everything's a blur. I went out last night, and it was a good conversation. I want to talk about some of the stuff we talked about in that live stream. We're definitely going to talk about Cody, but really quickly, what was this movie that you helped produce?
So it's a movie that I produced and I scored. I guess I could say award-winning score because we actually won an award. We won an award for best film. We actually got into the Toronto Film Festival and a couple other places as well. It's a movie called On the Line. And it's just it's actually based on a true story, my partner's true story, about dealing with a family member that was suicidal and overcoming mental health. So it was a very touching personal story to the team, and just to see it have the LA screening and everybody to be there, it was dope, man. So we partied in the hills, of course, to the wee hours of the night, and somehow in some way I am up. I don't know how.
I feel the same way. I don't know how I'm up right now, but I am. And I was like, you know what? We might as well knock the show out because I'm awake. And I actually don't feel that bad. But congratulations, man. Like, that's actually really cool. Can people watch it anymore if they're intrigued in watching it?
We're still in the screening at festival phase. So, like I said, it's been everywhere from Sundance to Paris to LA to all the places. So once we get done and we can officially have like here's a link to like watch it or to like purchase it, because it's a short film. We definitely going to put it out, but we have a couple other things. We got In a Session on Revolt March 18th. We have another film that I'm about to direct and star in a couple of months. That's why I'm stupid enough to be at the gym every day, because I'm trying to get back in shape. And then we have a feature at the end of the year. So it's been a busy month. So just, stay tuned to the socials, man. But, definitely
2022 is working for you. Do you know you have like 1,000,001 GIFs on Instagram?
I do. So actually I have like 2 million GIF like impressions or something like that, which is pretty mind-blowing to me. But yeah, I get hit up every day.
You just make them and put them into Jiffy and then they maybe get approved. Is that how it works, or what happens?
No, I am I'm a brand at Jiffy, and I have a boy that started making them for me. Okay. And he was sending me just a bunch of them, and I'm just like, what am I gonna do with these? Like, I don't know. And I forgot that I was a brand at Jiffy forever. Like, and I was just like, oh, okay, let me I put them up, not thinking anyone to use them. And what was the last pay-per-view? Royal Rumble.
Okay,
Royal Rumble. I had everybody that ever it was in a wrestling group like that hit me and be like, hey, people are using your GIFs in this random wrestling group or whatever. I'm like, what? Like, why? Like, and it just started flooding in, man. And so it took off like wildfire. And it was literally just for these short films and films that I was working on and in a session. That's why I really did it. And it just, the wrestling shit.
I know. I'm like, it's actually really cool. Like I typed in something wrestling. I think we typed in Stardust, and you popped up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. So then I typed your name, and there's a whole bunch of them. And I'm like,
yeah, and it's the most. And can I just?
yeah.
I guess I would ask you which GIF do you think is the most used of mine?
I'm gonna say this because I used it a handful of times in different group chats with everything that was going on this week in Elimination Chamber, etc. But the big meaty men one is the one I used the most.
Big men slapping meat.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
Men slapping meat.
I've used that one probably. I personally probably use that one the most, and also the one this week that's been used the most is obviously the Stardust one. Like everyone just keeps resending that anytime we talk about Cody, and then everyone just goes Stardust, and I'm like, oh my god.
No, man, that is not the one. That is not the one. That's not my number one GIF.
Oh, what's
my
the number one
GIF is "We the Ones."
Oh,
over 200,000 plus uses of "We the Ones." It leads the pack by far, bro. It is nuts. And I never thought that. I never thought that. So yeah, but yeah, guys, just type in my name and then
we will get NEESIN. But guys, I am gonna plug a couple more things really quickly before we get into Cody and everything like that. I'm holding this Coca-Cola like they endorse me. I think I grabbed this other. I don't even drink Coke like this. I usually drink Coke Zero. Shout out Coke Zero. But I was like drunk last night, and this is the first thing I grabbed. And I woke up this morning, I'm like, is this a normal Coke?
That's the worst thing to grab, man. Grab a Coke Zero, has no sugar.
That's what I thought I grabbed. It was like in the dark, and I just grabbed whatever can I grabbed. I was like, wait, I woke up this morning. I was like, this is not the one. No wonder I felt like crap. First things first, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys check out my interview with Swerve the Realist, aka Isaiah Swerve Scott, Shane Strickland, whatever you know him as. He returned to Defy. He's working in a bunch of places. Probably one of the hottest free agents on the scene right now. Everyone's talking about where he's going to land because he hasn't like just jumped to AEW or like impacting. Like he hasn't really picked a spot. He's working on the independent shows. He's got Swerve's House event in April, and he's out there. He's doing his things. He's also making music and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. He's working with one of Kanye's producers. He said, and we know Kanye's always relevant in pop culture these days. But make sure you guys check that out. I'm supposed to have Top Dollar on soon. I was supposed to actually record that today, but I probably won't be able to, but that will be coming soon. But we also did a really cool interview yesterday with a man named Rob Aurelius. Daniel, do you want to kind of touch on that and give people like an insight of what they might expect from that interview?
Yeah, for sure. So Rob's a good friend of mine. He works for the WWE community, I believe, and he just helps promote their company as overall, and he like really taught us how to network and like get to like know people on a personal level, and also touched base on mental health, and he had a great insight on that. And I think yeah, back to you, Justin. I don't remember much. I don't know why.
We literally recorded it yesterday with him, but he runs his own marketing agency, and he actually represents a lot of professional wrestlers in the WWE, from Finn Balor to just a whole plethora of them, and not even just represents them. He's befriended them over the years as he started working more with Susan G. Komen and Connor's Kier and et cetera. But for me personally, because I wanted to talk about this on here really quickly because it's one of those people you guys might not be like, it's not like a Shane Strickland or a Brian Danielson. Like, why am I going to listen to this? But I think it was a really good interview in terms of he's someone that wanted to do something with professional wrestling, didn't have any goal to get there, started a marketing agency network connecting randomly with someone so like, you know, he met, I think the first wrestler he said he met was Gene Snitsky, and I think for a lot of people, if they were at an event and Gene Snitsky was there, they'd probably pass up the opportunity to meet him because they're like, oh, it's just Gene Snitsky. But he didn't. He treated Gene Snitsky like, holy shit, met him, and that led to this whole ripple effect of him, you know, eventually working with Stephanie McMahon and working with the WWE and doing a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a really cool story. And then when we talk about mental health, it even wraps it up even more, which is really cool. So I definitely say check it out. It'll be out later this week. Daniel co-hosted that one with me. He met him in Dallas for the WrestleMania event when you were out there. Then he connected him with me. And I'm just going to say it, like, honestly, after we had the conversation with him, I figured I learned two things. One thing I learned is that he came on, and before we even started recording, he's like, you know, just to let you know, like, a lot of people see what you're doing and they like always ask about you, this and that. And like a bunch of wrestlers that don't even follow the pages, they're like Jeff Hardy, Finn Balor, like, you know, the wrestling classic right now. And it really gave me a lot of confidence and motivation again, because I'm the biggest doubter of myself all the time. And then secondly, I went on a tirade last night before I went out. So this was me sober. And I messaged a whole bunch of the wrestlers and people that follow my page and supported for all the years. I just kind of sent them out a thank you message, and a whole bunch of them messaged me back. And it was just, honestly, sometimes it's just nice to genuinely just remind people that you're grateful for their support and, show them and let them know. Because I think life moves so fast, we forget to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
And you see something or they DM and you just rip it away, or you take things for granted. And I'll tell you right now, I don't take anything for granted, like at all. All of this is wild to me. And I've lost all of this, so trust me, I don't take it for granted. Enough of that though. Cody Rhodes is leaving AEW. Wait when you thought nothing could be more shocking, and Keith Lee and Jay White show up there and everything seems like peace, and Cody was a free agent reported weeks ago, and nobody thought like he was gonna go anywhere else. Like, he's just obviously gonna sign back, like no biggie. Him and Brandy are gone. How do you guys feel about this?
I'll let Neesin go first.
I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised. I think more so as the stories have been coming out, and reports basically have been had from your Son Ross Sapps to your Dave Meltzers, people that clearly that they have connections with, and then you hear from just multiple journalists and pundits alike that Cody Rhodes, I said this, like Cody Rhodes was the forbidden door when people, no matter how you feel about the character, no matter how you feel about how, he saved racism in wrestling, no matter how you feel about the man being next to Martin Luther King Jr. and having his own holiday, as the man Cody Rhodes, outside of the square circle and behind the scenes and whatever you want to call it, he was the forbidden door. And he said it in a promo, and that promo, like Cass said, it all hit different like once you figure out he left, because he said it like, hey man, I might not, somebody told me to save this, I might not be able to, but you know what, I'm gonna say it now because I might not be able to say this. So when he actually said that, and he talked about how CM Punk may have inspired the forbidden door, but I'm actually am the forbidden door, right? CM Punk talked about all these things, but I actually did all these things. And so it didn't surprise me when you hear that he didn't have a relationship with Kenny Omega and the Bucks. He didn't have, like, his vision was different from, there's Tony's vision, there's the Bucks and Kenny's vision, and then there was Cody's vision, and how that's all different. And so, and then you hear about how, like, he wanted, it wasn't really about money, but it was more so about, hey, like, I want to do these things, like, and I should be able to do these things, because technically without Cody, there would be no AEW. He put his money up for All In. He's the one that said, when Dave Meltzer said ROH could never run a 10,000 seat arena, it was Cody Rhodes that said bet, right? And did that. It was Cody Rhodes that legitimized the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club in general. Hangman, Adam Cole, like, it was Cody Rhodes that did that.
Yeah, and I've said that many times. I don't mean to catch up, but I've said that many times. I'm like, listen, like, the Bucks and Kenny, like, Kenny was New Japan. The Bucks were like indie darlings. Everyone knew about them. Everyone was talking about super kick parties and stuff. BTE was already a thing, obviously, and obviously Kenny and the Bucks had a closer relationship, as they do. But when Cody left the WWE and he wrote that list of all the people he wanted to wrestle, and he started hitting the indie scene, because he chose, and that's another thing that people don't realize. Like, Cody only really left in 2016, but it feels like it's been so much longer because he's done so much and so much has happened. Because now I'm thinking about him going back, and I'm like, well, no, he was there when Kevin Owens and Seth and all these guys are still there. Like, they probably looked at him as like a veteran in the locker room and stuff, and he's Dusty's kid, and he's going back, and it's actually not that weird. Like, it's really hard. Like, I think, like, he's always been a WWE guy, but I just haven't looked at him like that for like the last 3-4 years. And I'm like, oh, wow. And the thing is that when he left and the Bucks kind of took him in, and he always is grateful. He's like, the Bucks brought me in and, they let me hang out with them, this and that. But I'm like, Cody, to me, always legitimized them. He made, like, for me, made me take all of them more seriously, because it's like, oh, Cody Rhodes is with them now. That's what my
and that's what I'm saying. So what about, you asked if this is the question is, was I surprised? I'm not really surprised, because Cody, if I would be surprised if Kenny Omega left, right? But Cody has always been the leader of the pack. And I think a lot of people didn't really think that. But when you have a man that, is always led the pack in this sense of 2016, he the first one to write a list, the first one he was a champion, brought back NWA, did the whole G-Force thing, did the whole, he went to all these different companies and collected belts. He was the belt collector. And so it didn't surprise me at all. What did surprise me, the part that did surprise me, is that how fast it was that basically Cody Rhodes is going to WWE, and it was it's very clear, and that Vince McMahon was high on it, because I would have thought that if he does leave, it wouldn't be to WWE right away, and Vince McMahon wouldn't be interested in Cody Rhodes right away. And I'm still kind of waiting to see that, where is this going to go? How are they going to play him? Are they going to treat him like a big star? Because I interviewed Cody, and the thing that Cody said was, I don't think anyone in a position of power should be making decisions in professional wrestling if they've never been inside a ring. And he was talking about Nick Khan at the time. So it's very interesting where Cody Rhodes will
if you really look at that too, like Tony's never really been in the ring either.
Yeah, I mean, but that's different. Like Tony Khan is coming from,
and he's giving the wrestlers power to make decisions.
No, Kenny Omega said that. Like he said he's not giving it, like, it's Tony Khan's show at the end of the day. It's his thing. But I think that Tony Khan is a fan, and he's a lifelong fan. He really cares about this. Nick Khan may be a fan because he had clients, he was representing these people, and then he got into the position of where he is now. He's a businessman. He's inking deals, like all these Saturday night main events, all these big spots. This is all Tony Khan, and which is great for professional wrestling and sports entertainment, pushing it forward. But we'll be interested to see. So surprise? No. Surprise that he's going to WWE right away? Absolutely. Daniel.
No, I agree with everything you said, but I also think I think Cody always wanted that nod of approval from Vince McMahon, because he always wanted that same level of respect from Vince. Like Vince respects Randy Orton. He respects those top guys. And I feel like Cody always wanted that approval, that nod of hey, I'm that guy. I'm Dusty's kid. I want you to treat me like the star I am. He wanted that acceptance. It's he felt like the younger sibling. When you're the younger sibling, you want your parents' approval of being yo, I'm equally better on that same level as my older brother. You know what I mean? He wanted that level of approval. But I also think he did all these things. He left WWE, created his own company, and I think sorry to cut you off. Also, Kenny Omega, I think, recently mentioned in an interview where he was like, the Bucks and I never wanted to go to war with WWE. Cody did. And I think Cody did that because he wanted to show I have balls, and I am who I say I am. And I think Cody going back to WWE is gonna make major shifts. It's gonna be great business, and I think Cody's a businessman. He treats himself like one. Cody knows the business like anybody else because he grew up in that Rhodes family, So
he left as Stardust. He's coming back as Cody, and I think this is the most well-rounded Cody we've had in a long time. Because don't get me wrong,
for sure,
his time at WWE, he was very versatile. He did Dashing Cody Rhodes,
Stardust.
He did all that stuff, but this Cody, and I've said this a bunch of times when I was at All In Chicago. Don't get me wrong, it was a dope show top to bottom. But the thing that felt like a big match was Cody and Nick Aldis. That was the big match feel. That was the match I felt like a heavyweight title match. Cody's a heavyweight title guy if he wants to be. I think he kind of also booked himself in a corner with AEW not being able to go after that title. That we're all waiting for him to turn heel so he could go after that title. And I think Cody does have a great mind for the business too. There's a lot of guys that are on that roster, and he thanked them in that post that wouldn't technically be on that roster, but Cody scouted them out. MJF, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Lee Johnson, Jade Cargill, Anna J. These are all people that
There's so many more.
People that either came from the Nightmare Factory or Cody scouted them out. Cody was the one that that MJF was in the first match at All In, and he was like, no, we need that guy. We need that guy in our company. And MJF's been on podcasts and said it. Cody said that's why the whole storyline with MJF being Cody's buddy, but then mean to everybody else. Like that's I don't think Cody's done a lot of questionable things in the past 8 months and a lot of questionable promos, but he's also done a lot of good, and he brought a lot of new stars to the forefront, and he's had great matches. I've never had a boring Cody match. I think I am a little concerned of how you go from having, and I heard obviously there was rumors that like part of the reason they couldn't come to an agreement was obviously, of course, he wanted to get paid the amount he felt like he should get paid, but then also like I don't know, we don't know nothing for sure. This is all speculation that like he wasn't going to be able to have as much creative control as he once did, and and if he didn't get that, but now he's going to WWE, it's kind of like you're not going to have any to an extent. Neesin?
You know, that whole money thing and it's always the first thing when somebody like, oh, they didn't want to pay him enough. We've all had some sort of job. We've all had some sort of gig, right? And you do those gigs, and usually if you love it, you're going to do it. If it's little to no pay and you're still able to get by. But money is rarely an option if you're passionate and you love something. If you're able to, if you're able to get by, if you're already like, if all your stuff is already paid for and this would just be like extra money, but you're like, I don't need this. I love this. I love doing this. That's the thing. We forget that when we talk about, millionaires, or we talk about athletes, or we talk about entertainers, that at the end of the day, this is a job. And at the end of the day, it's am I happy here? Right. And Cody wasn't happy. And I think a lot of things that we have to take in is that, yeah, look, on TV, yeah, he saved racism, man. It was great. Amazing, power to the people. But behind closed doors, he did do a lot of great things and probably didn't feel like he didn't get his just due. And that's completely acceptable and completely warranted, because the man, as you just pointed out, Justin, as you just pointed out, Daniel, he's did so many things that he should be like I felt like he was going to cry when he was like, I never turned heel on you guys because you guys were there for me when I was sitting, betting on myself, basically. Yeah. You guys were cheering
when he left WWE, he was betting on himself, and everyone
betting on himself.
All in was betting on themselves. AEW himself was betting on themselves.
Double or nothing. Nothing.
And to be also to be true, like he did cross over into doing stuff on TNT for Go Big Show. He did have his reality show, whether people liked it or not. Like he was doing things that nobody else was doing in the company. Maybe his vision was to take AEW to a mainstream level, and that's why his vision didn't coincide with the Young Bucks and Tony and stuff, because they want to do something else. But he was like, no, we can be like them. He started a whole. I'm not saying he started like single-handedly, but he was a big part of starting the whole community outreach program in AEW. Like,
well, it was him, and it was him, Brandy, and then they had Amanda over there. Like Amanda took it over, right? I think he was. I don't think he wanted a quote unquote war, but he understood what it had to be, right? Like you don't make, like, you may not dislike, like you may like Nike, right? And you're not gonna be like F Adidas, but if you need to make a statement, you're not gonna say F Adidas. You're gonna say, look, you had that over there. You're gonna Suge Knight them. If you don't want them all in your video, all in this and this, come to Death Row. That's all you're gonna say, and that's all Cody did. And you needed that energy, because that fan base, that lapsed fan base, that was PWG, that fan base that NXT got, like, right, that WWE got through NXT at the time, that fan base, that New Japan Pro Wrestling, that fan base that he traveled the world to see when he left in 2016. That fan base needed to have that superhero. They needed to have that character. They needed to have that person to be like, you know what? You're right. I don't like them.
As much as I don't like the us against them mentality that there is between AEW and WWE fans, like you're right. It's necessary because they that's how they grew to have a handful of loyal fans. Like that's how they have loyal fans that are gonna, because he created that atmosphere. Maybe not all of us are about it, but he created it, and there are people that will only support AEW and be like, nah, fuck WWE. Because he was trying to give them something different. And I know it looks hypocritical that he's going back there, but to your main point that you started off with, like sometimes it isn't just about the creative. Sometimes it is about the money, and it's a job, and it's your happiness. If you're not happy doing something no more, you're gonna go find an alternative. And we talked about this in the live stream. Like there's certain things I think that make people change in their lives, and I think him having a kid made him realize, like, I just want to make the most money I can, doing what I love and doing it happily, because I want to make sure
like that was a major.
It's not about me no more. It's not just about me and Brandy. It's about like, we're gonna do this. And if I can't get that from AEW, then I'll go over there. And honestly, he's the first major AEW star that is jumping back to WWE if that happens, which is huge. And two, like, this is me just being optimistic, but if he only goes there for like 2 or 3 years, which most WWE contracts are like 3 years, right? And he came back to AEW after the fact, because that AEW roster is very saturated right now. Like what the WWE roster was before all the releases is what the AEW roster is starting to look like, where there's so many people, but only so many top spots. You have the Keith Lees, the Malakais, the Kenny Omegas, the Hangmans, the Adam Coles, even like the guys like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and MJF and Sammy and Darby. And like you have all these names of guys that could be at the top potentially, even guys I'm not even huge fans of, but they're still there, like Lance Archer, who somehow is always in the title picture. Like there's all these people in that company. It's probably better for Cody to dip for a bit and go do something else and come back maybe when people eventually start leaving that company a little bit too. Like it's not the end of the world. The one thing they did for sure, and then Cody was a part of, is they did give people another place to go make money and enjoy professional wrestling. But that doesn't mean that you can't go back to WWE and go stack some cash up and come back if you wanted to. It's not the end of the world, Sometimes people just want to make the money. A lot of wrestlers just want to make the money. They don't even care about the creative. Some of them care about the creative. Some of them care about the creative and the money, but some people just want to make their money.
No, for sure. And I think like a major part of this is also I think, you look at the recent, signees that have been made to AEW, the CM Punks, the Bryan Danielsons, Adam Coles.
I didn't even say those guys' names. Those are other big names.
There's so many, dude. And I feel like I was recently like reading something and I saw that Chris Jericho and CM Punk are the high paid guys right now. Like they're getting paid the big bucks. And it makes me question, how much was Cody going to get paid? How much was Tony going to settle for? Because it really comes down to it. And if they didn't see eye to eye, then it goes back to the whole loyalty thing. It's like, if you're not going to be loyal to your guy who helped basically start up AEW on his own, take a chance with All In, I don't know. Maybe this was the best thing for Cody. Back to what Justin said. Having a kid, I guess, does change it.
Well, I mean, I know someone that knows someone that knows someone who said that person doesn't even care, that person doesn't even care about anything outside of just making sure he has money to send his 3 daughters to university, and he's chilling. Where everyone else on the internet will be like, he's getting buried, they're booking him so poorly, he deserves to be pushed. But like in reality, he doesn't even really care. He just enjoys working, being on television, and taking care of his family. And I think sometimes people don't realize, like, at some point, like, and it's happened to a lot of people where like you care about your craft so much. Like the creative does matter. We saw Punk walk out. We've seen Sasha take a mental leave because she wasn't happy with only being Sasha Banks. And now she's like found herself, and we barely see her because now she knows who Mercedes is. But like there are people that like sometimes when you're so passionate about your craft, it does get to you. But once you get over that hump, you're like, you know what? I just want to make money, and I want to enjoy doing this, and I'm not going to be too nitpicky on the small things sometimes. And I feel like I think Cody's hit that point where he's like, you know what? I had fun. This wrestling, like we made a thing happen. They're not giving me what I want. I just want to make money now and enjoy professional wrestling. I'll go back there. Let's see what it's all about.
No, for sure.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I think it's different this time. Like Cody can, go up against Seth, Roman, Balor. Like there's so many people. I know I'm missing so many, but like there's a lot of big names now, especially this time around. Like there's a lot of stars, and there's a lot of money to be made on the table with that. So
you gotta give him a big match in Dallas. You gotta give him a big match in Dallas.
You think so? You think they'll bring him up for that?
I'm sorry.
You think they'll bring him? Do you think they'll bring him in time for that, or I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you bring, you're not gonna sit on Cody until after Mania, especially when your card you got to fill out 2 nights. So you're not gonna wait for the Raw after Mania for him. I think you also have a lot of people you could bring to Raw after Mania. You have Bailey, you got Oscar, you got I'm trying to think of you got NXT talent that you could finally bring up that that was still part of Black and Gold era that could be left. So you're not gonna jumble that when you can have Cody that could go in right now and be credible against a triple threat between a Randy, Matt Riddle, and Orton or something like that, or against a Seth Rollins or against an Edge. Like the story that they could tell with Edge, Edge could put him over at Mania, right? Like and then going on for the summer, because remember after Mania is dead season for WWE, and so they're gonna need to build in. They're doing Money in the Bank at the Vegas Stadium again, so they're gonna need something big there. So why not create some big momentum and big stars that not really around the title picture, but just so you can have some headlining matches when you have to sell out 50,000-60,000 for Money in the Bank. It's gonna be, and they have all the options now. They have all the options. So why wait?
He definitely should be on Raw, though. I think we can all agree about that. I don't want to see Cody on SmackDown. I don't want to see him up against the Tribal Chief just yet. Maybe somewhere down the road. And we talked about this really quickly on one of our live streams too. But we'll start with I'll go first actually for this one. Like, I personally think the first feud I want to see Cody in is against Seth. I just think Seth's like the WWE company guy. I think it'll be a cool story. I just think Seth being out there and Cody comes out, or Cody being out there and Seth coming up. Like, what are you doing here? Like making some maybe like some jabs at AEW or something. Like I can totally see it with Seth, and that's something I want to see happen. But they started teasing some stuff at Elimination Chamber, like it might be like Cody and The Miz versus Ray and Dominic, which is
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It's gonna be Logan Paul, man.
It's gonna be Logan Paul.
Yeah.
God, what do you think about who should be Cody's first feud, Daniel?
In a perfect world, it would be Triple H. But
100%. In a perfect world.
In a perfect world, keyword. But that's very unlikely to happen because Triple H has been going through a lot of stuff. But I think I'll say it. I want to see Roman and Cody. I don't know. Throw it against the big dog. Why not?
Neesin?
I mean, I get people's sentiment about Roman and Cody, but I think it has to be set to all the points that we did talk about it on live. Seth has been the company guy, since the Authority, since turning his back on the Shield, since killing the company's golden goose. Seth has been the golden goose, and he's been Mr. Reliable. He's been the one in the media going after AEW. He's been the one in the media saying like WWE has the best wrestlers in the world. And so you're saying that the easy story is that Seth Rollins has been on top, like without a title these last whatever months. And you could have him come out and do his normal, like cutting a promo and have Cody Rhodes come out like, hey man, you're just talking all that. Like, but if it wasn't for me leaving, like 6 years ago or 7 years ago, however long ago it was, if it wasn't for me leaving that in that period of time, you wouldn't even be here. Like, this wouldn't be it. Remember, the last time we seen Stardust at WrestleMania was the heist of the century. It was WrestleMania 31. Right. So I mean, we didn't see him at Dallas.
No, we did.
Yes, we did. We did see him at Dallas. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but that was the Mania. That was the Mania that Seth was supposed to headline with Roman, right? Until Seth got injured. Seth got injured at that winter. Power bombing Kane, blew out his knee, and they had to go with the whole Triple H thing. So if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes leaving, like, you could arguably say Seth Rollins wouldn't have that spot, because one thing about Cody Rhodes, and even Triple H told him, like, you're gonna get your time, like, you trust it, it's gonna be there, right? And I think that's the easy story to play. It's like, look, you're only the company man. Triple H didn't even believe in you when you were in NXT. You weren't like, you were the champion for a second, but then when you left,
they've crossed paths. Remember Dustin and Cody against the Shield? Like they've crossed paths. It's not something.
Absolutely.
It's not something new. You imagine something like your dad liked me better than he liked you,
bro? It's so much. It's so much that can happen. Like, and that's why I think Seth is that Seth will be first for me. Edge would be second because, you know, you could tell the story of just like these multi-generational people and how Edge was gonna go to AEW, how Edge was in talks to go to AEW. He even said it, like he was going to go to AEW on his return. So they could talk about that. Like, yeah, it's so much. It's so much that can happen.
Moving a little bit forward, because we spent basically the entire show talking about Cody. The rest of AEW, we're not going to dive deep into it, but I am very happy that Punk and MJF are going to have a dog collar match. Punk's had a handful of them. I think it was the one I remember mostly was with Raven. I think it was Ring of Honor. It was a great match. But I know how much of a fan personally MJF is of Roddy Piper, and we've always heard the stories of how much Punk admired Roddy Piper, and one of the most legendary dog collar matches is Piper versus, I believe it was Greg the Hammer Valentine back in the NWA days. And I just think these guys are going to have it's AEW, so they're going to have a bloody fight. I'm looking forward to it. It adds to the stipulation. It adds to the match as a stipulation at Revolution. It's not just going to be a regular match, and MJF can't run away from CM Punk. They're going to be attached to each other, and they're both really great storytellers. I'm looking forward to that. And I was happy that Punk pulled out that picture that everyone's always posting since he showed up in AEW of MJF meeting him as a fan. And he said, you know, that was the greatest day of your life, but it was just another Friday to me. MJF was left speechless, and we don't see that often. I was hyped for Darby and Sammy, two of the pillars having a great – that's the picture if you're watching this. I was hyped for Darby and Sammy. They had a great match, two of the pillars of AEW for the TNT Championship. Not really sure how I feel about this whole Andrade, Matt Hardy stuff. The women's division, Britt's doing some stuff. She's fighting Thunder Rose at Revolution. I don't know.
He's coming.
It's good. It's not good, but it's just like I feel like with Britt, for like half the time she's feuding nobody, then like 2-3 weeks before the pay-per-view she's automatically feuding someone that she's low-key feuding the whole time, but we had no idea. Like, this is no like direct direction of exactly.
I mean, to your point, she's facing to your point, she's facing Thunder Rose at
who she has a history with, but I feel like
makes sense.
Like they have low-key been feuding, but like I felt for a bit there, like when she did that celebration with her accolades and nobody came out and interrupted her, I'm like, she has no rivals. Like, what's going on here? What else happened on Dynamite? I'm trying to think really quickly.
Darby and Sammy.
We talked about that. That was good. Obviously the inner circle is breaking apart. That's quite evident. But outside of that, like, yeah, that was actually. I do want to talk about Elimination Chamber, and I want you guys' thoughts on that. But before we go there, really quickly, huge shout out to the Undertaker being the first inductee into the 2022 Hall of Fame. I don't know who I was talking to. Might have been on the live stream, might have been on the show, but we're like, yo, it's pretty close to WrestleMania, and they haven't even shared one induction. And obviously one of my all-time favorites since I was a kid. He's one of those people that caught my imagination. I always say my first Undertaker was the purple glove and tie Undertaker. That was my childhood Undertaker. And he's just been one of my favorites like for all these years. I don't get me wrong, like the last 4 or 5 years was hard being an Undertaker fan, seeing him slow down and have a bad match and then coming back to redeem himself to have a good match and then somehow having a bad match again. But I know my childhood, like I don't know if I'd be as big of a wrestling fan if it wasn't for guys like the Macho Man, Bret Hart, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, etc. So obviously it was inevitable he was going to go in the Hall of Fame. I think this clarifies that he's officially retired. We were always questioning it. We watched the 10,000 Undertaker interviews and documentaries they put out after the Boneyard match, and all of them kind of signified that he has retired. But I think this Hall of Fame is like, okay, he's retired. This is it. He's going in the Hall of Fame. We've seen a lot of Mark these days, not a lot of Undertaker. We've seen a lot of Mark Calloway. So I think this is it. Who do you guys think is going to induct the Undertaker? Who do you guys think should induct the Undertaker? Neesin?
It's gonna be Kane. I mean, it has to be. Like, I think, you know, of course, it'd be Paul Bearer, God rest his soul, if he was alive. But if it's not, if it's it's two other options. So I mean, I think it's Kane easily, but I give the two other options: Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon being last because the only other person he did it for was for Austin, which rightfully so because he was Austin's greatest rival. But also Austin made him the most money, right? So just like Undertaker, I mean, just like with Austin, but Undertaker maybe not has made him the most money, but he was the most loyal and he was the most the greatest character to ever touch that company and that ever will touch that company, to be honest, because all the points you just said. So that, but Vince doesn't like being in front of especially during Hall of Fame. So you got Paul Heyman, which Paul Heyman has managed him way before his career. He's helped go to WCW, and I think they've always circled each other, and they've always had some sort of linking some way somehow. So I think Kane, of course, which that's what's probably going to be, but Paul Heyman, don't be surprised with Paul Heyman, and don't be surprised if it's Vince McMahon.
Daniel?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the odd one. I'm gonna go with Bruce Pritchard because he's the one who really showed the Undertaker to the world for the first time, and I think I wouldn't mind it. I think it'd be cool, but I think Vince McMahon would, I think it would be Vince, but Brother Love would be really cool. With all
and Bruce Pritchard, to listen to something to wrestle with, like he was a part of a lot of Undertaker's vignettes, filming them and producing them and stuff.
Sure.
Also here, so it's not a Brother Love is not a bad one. Kane, of course, Vince. I also was out there being like, if it's not Kane or Vince, and I do think this would be one of the few times that Vince could be the one to come out and do it for somebody, because you know how much he appreciates the Undertaker and all the years he came back for him. Every time Undertaker did say, maybe I'm gonna hang it up, and Vince is like, no, just one more match, or come to Saudi Arabia, and they just like Vince almost cried when he was asked like, how do you feel about the Undertaker? I forget what interview it was. He's like, I can't. Like, you know what I mean? So, like there's a real relationship there. So I do think if Vince was gonna come out, this would be one of the people he'd do it for. But I also think like sleepers, like it could be a Shane McMahon. We know Undertaker's had a great relationship with Shane throughout the years. It could be the Godfather. That's his BSK boy, maybe like it could be like, what if BSK comes out, like the Click came out and they all share a shot of Jack Daniels on the stage? I don't know. It could be a lot of people, but I'm very happy that he's going to the Hall of Fame. It's very well deserved. I quickly looked at my phone. Also want to point out, when it comes to Dynamite, Hangman and Adam Cole, it is happening at Revolution. Once again, I'm going to say it, and I've said it a million times, I really prefer Adam Cole with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish than I do with him with the Young Bucks. I just don't know. We don't have time. I don't think
we have time for me to touch that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more next week, or maybe we'll do like, I don't know. But there's a lot of thoughts. When we get closer to Revolution, we'll definitely do predictions. And I also like that they gave us a reason why Bobby and Kyle haven't been on television for a couple of weeks. So I was kind of suspicious about it. But
he's beautiful kids.
He had a kid, so I was like, oh, that makes sense. Thank you for letting us know, because I was really confused where he'd been. And also, there's one other thing that happened that I just looked at on my phone, and now I totally forgot. On AEW television, it was the Brian and Moxley being like, I can't team with you until I believe you. So I assume they're gonna wrestle each other first, and then maybe start taking people under the wing, like Lee Moriarty and Daniel Garcia. But this whole Moxley Brian thing has been interesting, to say the least. Why are you ucking about it?
It's just a pro wrestling fan's wet dream, man. Like Moxley and Danielson in a faction with Lee Moriarty and Garcia. What are you like? That is the pro wrestling. Like they could. I got goosebumps. Thing. You see the hair is standing up. It is. I'm flustered.
I'm
flustered, guys. I'm flustered.
Let's talk about Elimination Chamber for the last 15 minutes here. But right before that, as I keep adding stuff, congratulations to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae that also had a baby this past week.
Quill.
Shout out to them. Quill. Congratulations. But Elimination Chamber. What should we talk about? Like, okay, Bianca winning the women's chamber is a good match. I think that was inevitable. We all thought it was gonna be Bianca, but I will say, Bliss was a wild card in there. I was like, I would never win for a second. I got scared. Yeah, I will never count out Bliss winning. Like I always say, when the four horsewomen were the talk of the town, the only other one that broke out of that little pack was Alexa Bliss, and then like Alexa Bliss was the only one that like, what are you drinking?
Yeah, what the hell are you drinking, man?
What is that? Is it orange juice?
Mango,
Peach
Minute
mango.
Maid.
Yeah, why are you drinking it straight out the carton like that? He thought it was chicken broth.
I don't know. It's like half done. I'm like, I don't want to get a glass. I know I'm gonna finish it. Like, you might as well kill it, you know?
Oh wow!
But the last face you just made was like the nastiest thing. Everybody's like, ugh. Look at your face. Look at that. After you drink it, is it?
It's like you left it out. It's just warm now, but you're like, no, I gotta finish it because I took it out of the fridge now.
Yeah.
I've been drinking the
If you're watching a video version of this, which you should, then subscribe to Justice Patreon right now, because you will see Daniel's face when he's just like it reminds me of Anchorman. He's like, this milk is tasty, but it's hot. It's so hot. But he just kept drinking the milk.
Only got 26 grams of sugar. Not bad.
Thank you for the nutritional facts. Shout out to
sugar,
vitamin C.
Shout out to Elimination Chamber. Shout out to other women. They all looked great. I love those Britney Spears gear. Rhea looked amazing. God. Great match. I did think Alexa had the chance of winning, but Bianca won, and rightfully so. Bianca will be going to WrestleMania, hopefully to get her redemption from Becky Lynch. Neesin.
Rhea Ripley made me realize that I'm gonna need Day Day's dad's if you watch next Friday, and Day Day's dad, after he hit the lotto, he had a whole room. He had a special room. Rhea Ripley's outfit made me realize that I may be into having a room just like that. That's all I'm gonna say. Rhea Ripley is winning at life, and she knows it.
You know what's so crazy is in Saudi you have to be fully covered up, but I kind of like.
Thank you, Saudi.
I kind of like these outfits that they had to wear. Like they didn't have to wear the baggy t-shirts this time. And I'm like,
fucking dope, by the way.
Yeah. MJF just reposted that clip of when I interviewed him back in 2015.
Shout out to MJF.
You said who?
MJF. But
that dastardly MJF.
These outfits without the baggy t-shirts, they all looked amazing. Like even Charlotte and Sonya and Ronda obviously came on a judo gi. Everyone else, like Naomi, like props to you all, lovely women. But the show was great, man. We don't have a lot of time, but the rest of the matches were great. Don't be wrong. Ray and Miz was good. Like I said,
Miz was the banger.
No, it was really good. That's why I said that. I don't know why I was on the pre-show. If anything, I no disrespect to Drew McIntyre, but Drew McIntyre and Madcap Moss could have been on the pre-show.
Madcap Moss with the rubber neck. I don't. My God, you seen that? You seen that video of the guy in the pool where the guy like falls on the guy's head and like squishes it? That's what I thought of Madcap Moss. I just thought of I was like, oh my God, like my neck.
No, he legit like. I thought like that man. That guy like that was
scary. Yeah,
and it's so crazy when stuff like that happens that they show so many replays of it. Like, what if this really hurt and you guys keep showing replays of this? Like, do you guys? Or do you like wait till do you go up to him like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm okay. Okay, show the replays. Like, how do you make that decision? Because that could have been. Like, was that planned?
No. This is what happens, right? So of course, when you're legitimately injured, refs always checking on you. Legitimately injured, it hurts. Like they instantly go to them, but WWE goes right to the replay. Like they go, well, let's see it, because in their mind, I'm assuming, if we can the times we could show something is legitly real, and then that's how we could get the audience to buy in even more, right? Like if they could be like, yo, this shit is really dangerous, yo, this is really, you don't want to try this at home because look what can happen, right? Our athletes are real athletes. Look what can happen. They did that with when R-Truth, when Miz didn't catch R-Truth. They did it with Lita sliding out and doing a scorpion on that Raw against the main event of Trish. They did it with they recently did it when somebody else did the scorpion as well. They did it with with Rich Holland and Ricochet when Ricochet broke Rich Holland's nose, like, and they just kept showing it over and over and over again. Man, it's
That's crazy.
I hate it. I cringe, but I love it at the same time because I'm just like, oh.
I'm happy that Lita got her flowers and she had to soak in the crowd reaction. This is obviously a better, like, if this is, I don't think it is. I think she might still be facing Sasha or something at WrestleMania. But this is like a better. What happened? You want Lita to cut it out?
You know,
I'm sorry.
Over Lita? Because I was gonna say the match wasn't that great, but I'm happy she got that moment in front of a live crowd to soak it in and get her
are we
flowers.
getting Lita hate? Is this Lita hate?
I like Lita, but I mean, like, why
The
Sasha
ship?
and Lita? Like in Dallas, like she should have been the one beating Charlotte, not Ronda, man. I don't know.
I agree. 110% agree. I'm still on that, but I understand Ronda's presence.
It bothers me.
But it really should have been Sasha and Charlotte, and it should have been Becky versus Ronda. But then I felt bad for Bianca. So I don't know.
We're getting Lita heat. Is this overdue?
Yeah, the ship has sailed on Lita. I think that's
it has.
No!
I'm happy she had her moment against her.
No!
I love Lita. She's one of my favorite women's wrestlers.
Cool. I mean, I don't mind her, but like.
But it's also 2022. I'm glad that I heard today that Goldberg's now a free agent and his WWE contract ended because we're done with that too. Thank you, Goldberg. Appreciated your time. Hope the door don't hit you on your way out.
Can't wait to see him on Dynamite. It's gonna be nice. I'm kidding.
And also, let's just jump to it because Neeson's shocked right now, and we could go on for. I honestly want to get Neeson on the Big Ethan again, but we don't have time. But Brock Lesnar is a fucking champion again, and I don't like it. I'm not mad about it. It was very predictable. Him coming in there and fucking squashing Seth, AJ, and Riddle in a matter of 3 minutes, 3 eliminations in 3 minutes. You think I'd be upset about that, but I'm not that fan that really cares that much. And I think those are 3 guys that would be okay. I wish they had more of a battle against him, but Seth and AJ are guys that are going to be untouchable regardless of the fact. And the fans love Matt Riddle right now, and he's going to be okay. I thought the stuff with Austin Theory was hilarious. I made that little meme with Omni-Man and Invincible because that kid was about to get his ass whooped by the Beast. But I don't care. I had no point. And then I'm also glad that we can wait till Neeson. Let me ask you: is the Lashley injury real or fake?
It's real. He's out. So, he got injured at the Rumble.
Yeah. So this
he was hurt at the Rumble, but they cured it here.
Yes. And that's why he hasn't wrestled since. And this is why I'm pissed because I stood on my ground of like they will never do champion versus champion, and they wouldn't have did champion versus champion if he wouldn't have got injured. He's gonna be out for 4 months. So
Lashley's a fucking man, and I thought that was like a kayfabe injury, like a fake one to get him out of the match without having to, take not have to suffer the fate as Styles and Rollins and Riddle did. I'm like, that's actually smart because now you have the story that Lashley never really lost, and he still has a victory over Brock. Like this is a good way to get him out of this match if you want to do this dumb champion versus champion thing. Because I'm not on board with it either, but I didn't realize it was real. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's real, and it was a way to get. It was all the things you just said, a way to get him out of the match. Blah 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 blah, yada yada yada. Protect them, all the things, but the injury is real. And Kaz actually broke it on the green room with friend of the show Flobo and all them, and he was like, I knew that the injury was real, and that's why he hasn't worked Raw, and he'll be out for 4 months. And so change your plans like that. And I think it was the only problem is they went with the old reliable. And that kind of hurt when you had a chance to do something. It didn't need to be champion versus champion. It didn't need to be winner takes all. It didn't need that. And you could tell they're trying to clear it up for Kung Fu Ronda versus Charlotte on the first night, but it didn't need that. Like don't clear it up for Kung Fu Ronda versus Charlotte. Like let them fight for that main position against AJ Styles and the Edge, or against a Matt Riddle or whatever. Make them fight for it. Like they shouldn't just get it because it's Ronda. Like, make them fight for it.
No, I agree with you. And it just, for me, I was just like, those guys, Seth, AJ, Riddle, Orton, all these guys that, like, it would be nice if the reason we have 2 titles is that hopefully there, other guys could get the opportunities to be in prominent matches on the big shows for a secondary world title, because there's technically 2 separate shows and a brand extension and all this stuff, and it just sucks that those guys won't be able to fight for the title at WrestleMania, because everything in the past 4 months, at least at the pay-per-views from day one to Royal Rumble to Elimination Chamber, has surrounded Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. That was my only thing I didn't like about Royal Rumble. I was like, listen, it was a decent show. It just, the whole thing was based around the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns feud, and this almost felt like that too. And it's just I love modern day Brock, and I love Ponytail Brock. He's fucking hilarious. I dig the character, but they really didn't need to be title versus title. And that's my honest opinion. I think it's a waste of time, and it really sucks for other guys that could be. Imagine Seth won that belt. Seth and Cody for the title, like that would have been huge. Or it's if Lashley wasn't injured, I'm sure it would have been the card. Or like, there's so many other guys that like you could have gave them a prominent match because of that secondary title. But now we're just gonna probably end up having Roman walk out with both titles, and it's just like, why? And think about all the stuff that
it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. I just had to throw some names out there. But even if Riddle won, because there's rumors that Riddle was gonna win the Rumble or whatever. Like if Riddle won, and then it was Riddle versus Orton for the WWE Championship. Like what a good payoff to their story they've had for all these months. What if like there was so many different options, and it's just so weird to see overall, because we know day one got changed because Roman couldn't show up, and then Brock won the belt, and then the Rumble got changed. Now the Elimination Chamber got changed because Bobby got hurt. It's just like that WWE Championship scene has been so like, I don't want to say cursed, but like it's been weird. The only thing that's been constant is Roman Reigns.
Never took it off Big E.
They should never have taken off of Big E. They shouldn't have. Because the thing about Roman and Brock was supposed to actually happen at day one. That's so weird. Like, was it always planned to happen at WrestleMania again too? Then, like, I'm so confused. I wish I knew what the plans were. I wish we could go back from SummerSlam forward, and like, I wonder what the plans were and how much of it actually changed. Because I feel like a lot has changed since SummerSlam. A lot. And that's not even going. And that's not even going with just that feud, because obviously, like, all the time Sasha's come back and left. Like, there's a lot of things I feel like are changing all the time right now. And I wish we had the inside scoop of like what.
No, speaking of things changing, like I really hope they give Drew McIntyre a prominent match at WrestleMania, because like, dude, what the hell?
Want to see Drew McIntyre versus Baron Corbin at WrestleMania?
It's Drew McIntyre versus Baron. I mean,
I want to see Drew versus Cena at WrestleMania. I think.
What?
I mean, I don't know. I think that would be a dope match, like Drew versus John Cena. Like,
but okay,
don't get me started on John Cena.
Give me a. I know we don't have a lot of time, but give me like your elevator pitch to how we get to Drew versus John Cena.
I think Drew comes out on Raw. He's like, I'm sick of tired of like, he cuts a promo about like not being treated.
SmackDown.
I don't even remember that. Cuts a promo on SmackDown. He's like, I'm sick and tired of being treated like not that guy anymore. Like I deserve a WrestleMania match, blah blah blah. And then comes out Mr. Peacemaker, and then we just kind of set it up.
There was a point where I thought there was actually a point where I thought it was going to be Drew versus Roman at WrestleMania this year. Like I thought that was going to be the thing.
They still want to do that, I think.
I thought they were going to get through Brock and Roman by day one or something. And it would have been that's what I mean. Like I feel like everything just feels so weird to me right now. Like we don't know what's going on. Ronda came back, Brock came back, Lashley got it. Like just things are happening. They're like, oh, what are we gonna do? Like what should we do? And it's just like, I don't know. What are you guys gonna do? I don't know.
Anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation.
I'm gonna give you a minute. Give me in like 4 sentences. Big E was on the bump, looking very not Big E-ish.
4 sentences? You're gonna give me 4? You're gonna give me 4 sentences in the middle of Black History Month? How dare you give me 4 sentences in the middle of I know you're in Canada. I know it's a whole Canadian thing right now, but god damn it, this is all we got over here in the States. Is Black History Month is a month with only 28 days in it, and you want to give me 4 sentences to talk about the unjust, the travesty, and the disrespect that they gave to Big E, the most modern day representative of our generation as a champion? You want to go and give me 4 sentences? I can't do that in 4 sentences.
I learned a few things from you. I did not realize that they took away his theme song from Wale. I did not realize he's only been called Big E and Kofi instead of the New Day. I learned a lot of things from that live stream. Maybe we'll go live again and Neesin can share his thoughts of this whole Big E situation. Guys, make sure you follow all of us on social media. Follow Daniel at Daniel M8. Follow Neesin at Stay Fly Life. Is that still Stay Fly Life on Instagram too? Because you have your Twitter up there.
Stay Fly Life on Instagram and actually on Twitter too. I have the Twitter now, but yeah. So
there
Stay
you
Fly
go.
Life,
And you
Instagram
guys
and Twitter.
follow me at the Wrestling Classic. All the important links are in my bio, to my articles at 1:37 p.m., to my YouTube channel where you can watch all my interviews, and even the TWC show every once in a while. Maybe I'll let this one free for everybody so you guys can all watch it. Also, you guys can, subscribe to the TWC show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. And join the Discord. If we get 1,000 people in there, we'll be doing another giveaway. And also, Neesin plugged earlier, join the Patreon too, guys. There's you get all the videos for this show every week, and you get a bunch of other exclusive stuff on action figures if you are an action figure.
Works hard. This man works hard.
I really try. And I hope you guys all keep doing the thing. Ooh, yeah, dig it. We'll give them more than 4 sentences next week. We're good.